I feel like this might be the difference between a guy going to the gym and a girl.
Okay. I work with women that have lost their confidence, come out of a relationship.
Even if it was me who decided to leave, it's still the death of something.
Yeah. I see more and more people being single nowadays. I think that is really becoming more difficult to date. And I think the problem being is
women don't need men for that necessarily. So what do women need men for?
These qualities that are very, very attractive. At least for me personally, they're very attractive. If you think that will happen, you're not in the right relationship to begin with.
What do you mean when you say toxic?
I guess I don't want to be on that roller coaster again. No, thank you. There's only so much you can put someone through when it comes to your own insecurities, your own battles that you're fighting. If you see a pretty girl in a bar by herself, you have to be confident enough, and it comes with practice. You do it a couple of times, it's uncomfortable.
Just one last thing. Here in Bali, do a lot of men approach you?
Yes. Oh no.
Hello and welcome to my podcast, the Adam Riley Podcast, where I'll be interviewing experts and interesting people from around the world with the intention of helping men, including myself, thrive in the modern world of dating, sex, and relationships. Make sure to subscribe and let's go. First thing I wanted to ask, the way that we met was pretty cool.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, how often in your life have you met somebody on an exercise bike at the gym?
Yeah, I love that. It was I love Bali for this. I just really, really like how everything's random and then all of a sudden you meet some really cool people and here we are. Yeah, I'm quite social in general, quite chatty. So easy to meet people, easy to talk to.
Yeah.
And I really like meeting like-minded people like you and just sitting down and kind of creating different, cool things.
That's cool because, I mean, me personally, when I go to the gym, I'm usually like very focused and it's quite rare. Sometimes I do talk to people, but I don't know, like...
You do, but do you find that as well? Like in Bali, you cannot stay in your zone for too long. When I go to the gym, I always find that even if I am a little moody or tired or just want to go and get it done, there's always somebody who's going to talk to you, who's going to make you smile, who's going to kind of bring you out of your shell a little bit. Do you find that?
I feel like this might be the difference between a guy going to the gym and a girl, a pretty girl going to the gym.
Thanks.
So that's great. Anyway, that is beautiful about Bali. I mean, I think you can meet an amazing person anywhere, even on an exercise cycle at the gym.
Yeah.
We had a great conversation and you told me a little bit about yourself.
Yeah.
You told me that you are, I don't know, is it moving into coaching women?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So a little bit about myself. So I'm an online coach. I specialize with weight loss predominantly. I work with women that have lost their confidence, come out of a relationship, wanting to regain their self-belief and self-confidence again, and also work with women that are stay-at-home moms, have had one or two kids, and again, kind of finally being able to put themselves first. So it's really nice to shift the priorities a little bit, to work with them to kind of create a space where we bring a routine, we're bringing healthy habits, and slowly but surely we see the difference long term and the whole transformation. Obviously, I come from a place where predominantly a big shift and a pivotal time in my life was a breakup in a relationship that I've had, where I just had basically probably the lowest point I've had. I come out of the relationship that was right before COVID actually, and basically I put on weight. I wasn't really sure who I am anymore because we spent a lot of time kind of together, which is never healthy, never a good idea.
Maybe some like codependency in there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very important lesson learned as well. It's very important to be your own individual and your own person in a relationship so that when that ends, if it does, you have a sense of identity and you don't link your identity to them. I think that's very important. But anyways, I kind of came out of that relationship and I just had a self kind of discovery journey. I went through a whole transformation and all started with fitness. That was kind of the foundation for me.
The exercise bike.
Yeah. And then basically from there, it was, a lot of things that kind of challenged me in a way, in terms of the fitness again. A lot of things that I didn't think I'm able to do. Yeah. It's been amazing to see what you can do when you start to believe in yourself and when you start to push yourself a little bit more.
That's incredible. You said at some point helping mums who are like, it's coming out of having children.
Yes.
Like when they start to get their time for themselves, because I can imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you have a kid, I've never had one, but sorry.
Me neither.
Okay, but I can imagine you would have, you during that time, you really give everything to your child. And so your self-care, it's very hard to keep up probably.
Absolutely.
Self-care and self-love. So things get a little bit left behind and so you catch them at that point and help them. And you said exercise was primary thing.
Yeah, so I think with women, it's a natural thing for us to put ourselves last. We're very caring, we're very nurturing. And especially when you have a family and you build, the family and the kids and everything, is a very normal thing for us to just, be there and provide and look after everyone else but ourselves. So this is where we shift everything through fitness, exercise, routine, healthy habits. Yeah. And it becomes, I even had a client recently that said that she became an inspiration to her husband because her husband has started to notice the difference in terms of how different she feels, how she is more kind of energetic. And he said to her that he is slightly jealous of the fact that she's found something that gives her that, which I think is a superpower. It's amazing.
Yeah, that's incredible. Like I've seen, I don't know, many podcasts of just exercise being the key to health in general. So to sleep better, to feel better, to think better. So I think it's a great place to start.
Yeah, 100%. All starts with you and the foundation that you build and your habits, the habits that you build as well.
Yeah. Really good for sleep too.
Like, yes.
We've talked about sleep before, and I know you're struggling, but
I am struggling.
That may be the coffee.
Might be coffee addicts out there. You would understand me.
Can I ask if you're okay with sharing? You mentioned that you had you went through a big breakup, and that was one of the pivotal moments in your life. What made it a pivotal moment for you? And what was what are the greatest lessons that you took out of that?
Breakups are always difficult. They're never easy. I find it really hard to talk about breakups. I don't know why. I guess if I have to look at it from a positive point of view, you learn so much about yourself. And I wouldn't be where I am today if I didn't go through the series of breakups and failed, quote unquote, relationships. So yeah, I think so. The biggest breakup that I had was right before COVID, and that changed me to kind of push me to discover who I am, find fitness as a hobby, then turn it into an actual job and a business, which is amazing. And then more recently, the other breakup that I had, which was with a boyfriend of mine, an ex-boyfriend of mine, we decided to travel together to become digital nomads, to run our businesses from Asia. And that basically failed 2 months into our traveling plans. It was, again, at that time, it was very difficult, very, very difficult, because you're all of a sudden halfway across the world with somebody that you were meant to do this together, but then you kind of find yourself alone. You pick your bags and you kind of leave. And then for me, that was kind of like the realization of, oh shit, I'm on my own here. What do I do? A lot of friends and family thought the best thing to do is to go back home and fly back.
Friends and family always think that.
Yeah, didn't even cross my mind. It didn't. I was like, okay, this is the part where it's me, it's my journey. I decide what to do and how to write the story. So I went and traveled. I visited like 10 plus countries in Southeast Asia. And I actually turned it into something very positive. I turned it into, this is what I choose to do now. This is my journey, and this is how I'm going to do this. It taught me so much resilience, so much independence, which I guess to a point I was lacking, because I kind of decided to do it with somebody based on the fact that I thought that I can't do it alone. So I guess that was my hard lesson in, you can. You always can do things. You could do anything you want to. And I'm learning this through this whole process. And fitness is teaching me that if you put your mind into something and if you repeat it consistently every single day, you are going to start to see the benefits and the results. And it's exactly the same with everything else that you do in your life. I'm a big believer in that. And yeah, relationships, obviously, for one reason or another, they, it's great if they last. But if they don't, you always learn something.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like for me in the past, I can trace back to a few big breakups, and they've always been the beginning of, they've been like for sure the hardest periods of my life. So the times where I've crashed the hardest. And yeah, it's also very deep wounds of not being good enough for somebody, or just like having a vision of a future and the death of that common shared future, even if it was me who decided to leave, like it's still like the death of something, and yeah, I think I can relate to it being the hardest time, and then also through that an opportunity for really a new beginning.
Yeah. I think we should look at it. Why is this happening to me? A lot of people would say, why is this happening to me? But I choose to look at it as like, what is it trying to teach me? And at that moment in time, as I said, the last breakup that I had was teaching me exactly this. You can be resilient. You can do this. I think, and it's funny how it always happens is that you come out of a relationship, I don't know if you can relate to this, but you come out of a relationship and you think, this is what I don't want anymore. And I want to go into the next relationship focusing on everything that you kind of wish you wanted to change in the previous one, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, one of the greatest lessons is what you don't want. Do you ever think that this is a random thing, but like,
go for it.
at some point people like self-development themselves out of most of the options, or like it's like you just find so many things that you don't want that it's like really narrows down what you do want, and so therefore, I don't know, it's like there's way less options.
I guess so. It's interesting because I think that the problem, I see more and more people being single nowadays. And I think that is really becoming more difficult to date. And I think the problem being is a lot of women are incredibly independent nowadays and sufficient, and then, make their own money and all that, which is great. But when it comes to that level where they make their own money, they're independent, they could travel, they could go anywhere they want, they don't necessarily want a man anymore, because they think, what is it that they can add that we can't already give to ourselves? But then the problem that men have is that they feel extra pressure because they have to be very successful. They have to be earning X amount of money because the women nowadays are so independent. So I think that there's this kind of, yeah.
So maybe, yeah, that's definitely an interesting point, and there's definitely a divide.
Yeah.
Like, I think for many reasons, people are not connecting. You know, whether it's that or, for women, there's definitely the dynamic of, there's not the same dynamic as however many years ago.
The traditional way
where
the man is a provider.
The women don't need men for that necessarily. But would you say, so what do women need men for?
I think one is the confidence that they can be there. They could be the support system, that we have the trust in them that they can show up and be support. And that support doesn't necessarily mean you have to be financial support. It could just be somebody there that we can rely on. And also nowadays, I think it's really important to have your morals right and to be who you say you are. And even going into a relationship, I think you have to be very aware of who you are as a person, have to be very honest with who you are so that you can attract that back into your life. So I guess women would look for somebody who is showing up consistently, being able to be the support system that they need and to rely on. I think that's really, really important. And then if they're sweet and caring and loving, I think they tick a lot more boxes than they would probably give themselves credit to for.
Great. So, yeah, I hear like stability. Stability.
Yeah.
Like centeredness.
Yeah.
It's in a way, it's a certain kind of strength, because we all have our own like kinds of strength, but it's holding space, kind of, maybe.
Yeah.
For some craziness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that them having their own thing, I think is very attractive nowadays. If you do have a thing in your life that you're passionate about, that's not just the woman in your life. At least for me, this is a very attractive quality. So whether you have a business that you're working on, whether you have a passion project, something that it keeps you motivated and driven every single day, so that you show up and you show the discipline and like these qualities that are very, very attractive. At least for me personally, they're very attractive. If you are consistent, if you're driven, if you're showing up on a daily basis, amazing.
So it's more like this is the way you are in your life for you, for the man, rather than for the woman, in a sense, because he's doing it because this is the way he is, not because he needs to provide for her.
What do you mean? Sorry, say that again.
So he's driven, he's passionate about something, he's maybe got his own business, or he's doing something that he feels is important to him, and it's outside of you.
Yes, I think that's healthy. That's the foundation of a healthy relationship right there, is two people coming in together that are not perfect by any means, but that are passionate about the relationship one, and then they're also passionate about something outside of the relationship, whether they're building a business, whether they are, passionate about what they do in their 9 to 5. I think it's very important also to have your own friend circle, to do things outside of the relationship. And a lot of women don't like that, which I don't understand, because that you need to have your own space within the relationship. You need to be able to express yourself with your friends without your girlfriend being there, listening to the conversations and etc. So, yeah, I think it's really important.
Yeah, I think, talking about going back to codependency, and like, I know men don't want women necessarily to go out and do things and and then women don't want men to, and I think it's becomes a vicious cycle. And I can see that, I don't know, so much of traditional relationships have been based around fear and and the lack of trust. So I don't know, maybe you could speak to what's your feeling about like developing trust in that environment.
So trust is, that's a very interesting topic to discuss. So I think trust comes from you. I think if you go into a relationship with the idea that they're going to hurt you, cheat, do something bad to you, that will most likely happen. And I think what happens is you would project that onto you would project your own insecurity onto that person. I think obviously pick wisely. We've all had our experiences with party boys and etc. But, which is a whole different subject altogether.
Fuck boys.
Yeah, fuck boys, all of it. Choose wisely, sorry. And then do not project your insecurity onto them. Be happy, content within yourself, so that you do not overthink, you do not put all of your energy into them. I think that's very important. And again, it comes from a place where you have enough things in your life to keep you sustained, to keep you busy so that you do not obsess and overthink and stalk and whatever. What is he doing, quote unquote? Because it's so much, and I see this with young girls especially. They waste so much time trying to stalk their boyfriends and trying to project the insecurity of like, oh, they will do this, they will do that. If you think that will happen, you're not in the right relationship to begin with.
Yeah, so there's two things. One is trying to choose somebody who you do trust, or you think you could trust, and then kind of having a life.
Yeah, but they have to show certain qualities, right? They have to be mature. They have to be a little bit more kind of emotionally intelligent so that they can show you that they have the right qualities for you to put your trust in them. Because there's nothing worse than going into a relationship thinking, oh, this is going to be a disaster and they're not emotionally available, etc. Because you will waste a lot of time, and speaking from experience here, you waste so much time trying to change them. Whereas the reality is, if they're not ready for a relationship, or if they want to experience other things and they kind of, it's not going to work.
Yeah. Choosing somebody, like if it's specifically for a relationship, and I guess it's also whatever kind of relationship you're wanting, choosing somebody whose desires are aligned.
Yeah, that's the best way to describe it.
They want the same thing. Trying to fit like a round peg in a square hole.
Yeah.
Never going to work.
No, doesn't work, sadly.
Yeah.
But what is your experience with relationships? Where do you stand with them?
Where do I stand with relationships?
Yeah. What do you think your past relationships have taught you?
I saw a lot of my, like, talking on the negative side, I guess. Like, I saw a lot of my insecurities. I definitely had a lot of codependent patterns. So I see this in the past. It's something that I've worked on extensively in the last few years. Yeah, and I see it as an extension of the same like insecurities and social anxiety that I struggled with my whole life. And I can see that it's probably the most destructive force, Like I can see it in me. I can see it looking back, like a couple of partners. I remember like her being very insecure about me, always thinking that I was doing something, then her actually cheating on me.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah. So it was totally a projection of her own self in a way.
Absolutely.
And then like still being the same towards me. I stayed in for a while, but it's just so unhealthy.
Why did you stay?
I think part of me, well, there was, this feeling of loving somebody. So a part of me was like, okay, I really, on some level, I think she was like...
you think that you can love them through their insecurities, but the reality is that...
Yeah, I was making that old chestnut mistake, which is pretty much... She had like these dual personalities. So she had like the angel. And when I got the angel, you felt like everything would work out. And then, there was the devil. And that was just hell. So I would get through the hell and be like, I'm definitely out. And then the angel would show up and I would get sucked back into it. And that's pretty much how it went for a while until finally, Isn't
that the best way to describe a toxic relationship?
Well, it does sound like the epitome of what I guess a toxic relationship would be. I don't know, like... Yeah, I try. How would you describe a toxic relationship? Like, what do you mean when you say toxic?
I guess toxic relationship will be exactly that. So having them pulling you in when they want you, but then being the hot and cold, kind of giving you mixed signals, not really sure where you stand. Being really nice one day, then the next day they're just totally different person, different personality. So that you feel really drawn into them when they're lovely and they're nice, but then you feel completely scared and just kind of like, whoa, what just happened on their bad days? Which I think is interesting for women, that we're very attracted to the hot and the cold. And I think as you get older, you kind of understand that the butterflies and that craziness is not what true, healthy love and relationship is or should be about. Now, it's really interesting. Now, when I don't feel anything and I'm going into like dates, for example, and I feel like, oh, this has gone really well, and then this and this and that, in my mind, I'm like, there's no red flags. Now and then when I get that feeling of like, okay, I'm calm about this situation, then for me this is the kind of like the green light that I should pursue this. Whereas before, when I was a little bit younger, I'll be like, that's not exciting, there isn't drama, there isn't anything pulling me in, he's not this or that, or maybe I shouldn't, there isn't anything for me to kind of catch on to changing and whatever. So yeah, it's interesting how you kind of change, your perspective changes as you get older, I think.
Right. Some experience there of like what that looks like if you continue with it, kind of thing. Like you see early on these, I guess, red flags, as you say, and if you've already been down that track a few times, you're like, I don't want to do that again.
I don't want to be on that roller coaster again. No, thank you. Yeah.
So, because I want to go back to toxic, because this term, it's something that, I hear a lot, and what I see is like people who are traumatized.
Yeah,
they're trying to get their needs met in a way. It's like the guy who's doing that stuff, he's, I guess, looking at it from his perspective, he's not to say, not to defend necessarily, but to say if he's doing this, or let's say even my ex-girlfriend, if she's doing this, it's because of traumas in her past, things that are like she's basically being triggered on one day, and she has no way of like dealing with it. She can't handle it. It's totally taking her over, and she's acting that way. And then on the other day, it's like that's gone, and it's more probably like the real her, I guess. This is the way I still think of it, like the calm person, the centered person, the good person, the one who cares. Like, I think these are like, I mean, it's just my way of looking at it, but I think they're innate human qualities. I think they're like the core of us. And I think the manipulative, because it's very manipulative, hot and cold is very manipulative, kind of narcissistic, reactive patterns. This is like, when people are taken over by their trauma. So I have, I guess, a lot of compassion for it. Not to say that you might not want to keep your distance, It doesn't mean just because you understand something that you want to be near it.
Yeah, it's interesting. An example comes to mind, and I'm not really sure if my friend will be okay sharing that. Obviously, I wouldn't
change the name.
Yeah, I wouldn't share the name. But he fell in love madly with this girl, and everything was great at the beginning. And then he saw all the good qualities, as you say. And then later down the line, it just went from horrible to awful to absolute disaster. And she would show complete different side to her, and he would tell me these stories, and I just wouldn't even believe that he was there and that was happening, because he seems like the sort of person, obviously when you fall in love, you love somebody through the bad, through the good, hopefully, but then to stay to the extent that he did with the bad qualities and the bad things that she showed him, I think there's only so much you can put someone through when it comes to your own insecurities, your own battles that you're fighting. And I think that's where, if you're not ready for a relationship, if you haven't done the work, I think it's really unfair to put somebody through that. Because now, bless him, I mean, how many years later, he still talks about her. And he still goes through, because there's so many question marks in his mind where he just cannot understand what the hell happened there. She was clearly so bipolar in so many ways, and clearly like a very beautiful girl, like lovely, but also that other side of her that you said, the devil side of her. And I think it's 2 years, over 2 years now, maybe even longer. He still talks about her very in like a lot of pain and kind of, and he said that the best thing that he did was just leave, block, delete, stop any communication, because it was very painful. And at the same time, he said, like, I can't save her. There's nothing I can do. There's something in her that is, it's just, I don't know, disastrous, I guess.
Yeah, that speaks very much to the experience that I had. And just like wanting to save the person, seeing the beauty, seeing the incredible potential, I guess, of that person.
Yeah.
And wanting to be able to help them. Yeah, it's
a tricky one. It's a very
tricky one, because there's obviously times when there's an amount that you can do, and there's ways that you can navigate, because we all have some stuff.
But you're also like, you're battling her battles, and you're being brought down in the dirt, or whatever expression we should. But you're also being dragged into this.
Yeah.
And it's unfair on you in a way, isn't it? Because if you come into, I completely understand and appreciate that two people come into a relationship and there's a lot of insecurities that are going to be brought up because no one's perfect. And I think this is where my problem comes into, because I feel like nowadays I'm just very picky, and I maybe traumatized in a way, but I just think that you have to do the work. You cannot be selfish enough to think, I have this huge jealousy problem, let's say, but I'm going to a relationship and figure it out anyway. So it doesn't work that way. You have to have the tools. You have to have something that you've done for yourself to that you've worked on yourself. So you come into this relationship prepared almost. You have tools that you can use and to help you navigate your way so that you can be better, and that you don't bring the other person down through your own insecurities.
Yeah, and I think maybe just knowing another like point of view is like, if you are in a relationship, which everybody has, as you said, everybody has something, some trauma, some things that they're bringing to the table. But if somebody is brings a lot, at least if they are working on it, if you can see that they are actually
aware of it,
aware of it, know that it's a problem, and are willing to work on it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
I think that really can make all the difference, because you can say, okay, you can set some boundaries where you're like, okay, I can help this much. I need this much space. Like, we do this if this happens. You can kind of set some maybe limits and boundaries around it, and then that the person is actually working and making progress.
Yeah.
I can see that as being a way through.
Yeah, I agree. Doesn't that come from you knowing yourself very well, though? So, like, I imagine in my mind, when you go into a healthy relationship, you talk about who you are, what you like, what you dislike, and see kind of whether you match or not. So then when you go into that and you have that conversation about what are your triggers and etc., isn't that a really good healthy place where you kind of know yourself very well, so that you could be like, look, for me a trigger, for example, would be if you're going out every night drinking. I don't know how to manage this and cope with it. But then there's also the compatibility side of it, isn't it? What do you think about polar opposites in a relationship? Let's say a girl that loves going out partying, being a social butterfly, and then somebody who loves to stay at home.
There's a bomb. I'm definitely not a relationship expert, so I can just say really what I feel, which is I wouldn't want that. Pretty much. Like,
which one?
Well, I wouldn't want polar opposite. Like, I'd want somebody who has different interests, but that, I don't know, at least 70% we align. And I feel like somebody who, for me, it's not stay at home, but it's like, I prefer to do maybe something adventurous during the daytime. I like to go to events, but I don't want to go clubbing so much. So if I had a girlfriend who wanted to go clubbing 3 nights a week, I probably just wouldn't.
It's difficult. You'd have different hobbies, different priorities.
Yeah.
I guess that would lead to arguments.
the time, like talking about sleep, the time doesn't line up. Like your schedules. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't nowadays.
Yeah. I think it's a huge compromise. That kind of happened to me with my previous relationship. It was too much. I love being social. I love being around people, but there's a different side to being around people, socializing, networking, collaborating in whatever way. And there's also like the partying, the drinking, the going out, the clubbing, the drugs that I do not agree with whatsoever. It doesn't align with my lifestyle. I guess it's something. I get my point of view was that the thing that annoyed me the most was that I'm good at setting boundaries and I'm very proud of that. But then what I didn't like and appreciate is that these boundaries were broken but not communicated with me. So what happened was I was being lied to about things that I set out from the very beginning, saying look, I'm very black and white here, very clear on this and where I stand. And there's
So I mean that's what a boundary is, right? If that gets broken, then if it's a real boundary, then that's usually the end. Yeah,
it is the end. But then it's a waste of time, especially if you find out let's say 6 months or 8 months later or whatever. Waste of time.
Yeah. Just throw one last question out, and it's a bit of out of left field because I feel like we've been deep in relationships and it's been a great conversation. But yeah, this channel is for shy guys who want to improve their dating life. What would be, I don't know, your best advice to them, or what would be your best? What would you like to say to them? Maybe
don't assume anything. That's what my advice would be. If you see a pretty girl in a bar by herself and you assume that you're going to get rejected, and you think, I'm not going to even go bother talking to her because she gets thousands of guys going on hitting on her. Don't assume that. Is my piece of advice. Just be as casual, as friendly as you can be. Approach the girl, talk to her like a normal person. And the worst case scenario, what could happen is she could say, no, I have a boyfriend, or no, I'm not interested, and that is it. And 9 times out of 10, a lot of guys and a lot of people would make it about them. I'm not good enough, or I'm not attractive enough, I'm not rich enough, or whatever. Nothing to do with that. Could be the wrong timing, could be that she does in fact have a boyfriend, could be the fact that she's just come out of a relationship and she's not ready to date. But at least they know that they've given it a shot and they're not thinking about it and they're taking action, I think, which is really important. Like, you have to be confident enough, and it comes with practice. You do it a couple of times, it's uncomfortable with anything. When you go to the gym, you don't know what you're doing, you get better with the more that you do it. So just do it. Approach the girl if you wanted to, speak to her, break the boundary, I think, and don't presume anything. It's my piece of advice.
Beautiful. I love it. Thank you. Just one last thing. Here in Bali, do a lot of men approach you?
Yes. Oh no.
You don't have to answer.
Yes, but in a way where I'm very social, I'm very friendly, and I'm very easy to talk to, and which is again something that is easily mistaken with I'm very interested in or whatever. But yes, people do come up to me. I love chatting to everybody, but that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to date them.
Yeah, sure. No, I was just curious that so you quite often guys will come and talk to you. Mm-hmm. You guys have a conversation, and that's cool.
And that's cool. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Doesn't mean that you're gonna date them, but it's also cool that they come and talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. You never know. You never know what happens. But I think that, one, they have the confidence to come and to talk to me, which is amazing. I always appreciate it. 2, I think it's also important to pick up on the cues. So if you're at the gym, let's say, and a girl is smiling at you or is open and kind of making eye contact, and then probably that could be read as a green light and a green signal where you can go and talk to her. And it could be, I've had an occasion, 2 months ago, when I had a really bad day. Like, I didn't sleep very well. I'll go to the gym, I try to exercise, try to do my thing. As you said, I'm in the zone, and somebody comes and approaches me, and I did not react very well. And I felt bad for it. Obviously, now we're friends, so I apologized to him. But I just say to him, like, you misread all the signals. I just wanted to be left alone. I wanted to do my thing. He did not respect it, and he got a bit of a bad reaction out of me.
Some bad vibes.
Yeah, which I'm not very happy about because I normally try to
normal.
be
You weren't
polite.
feeling good.
Yeah.
You still want to go into the gym and exercise because that's part of feeling better. But
yeah,
so that's great. I really appreciate your responses. Read the cues, read the room.
Absolutely.
And if you see some interest, or she checks you out maybe, or like gives a little smile, then go and say hi.
Yeah. What's the worst that can happen?
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Desi.
No worries.
Thanks for
Thank you for having me
on the show. Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Awesome.